Welcome to Around the Reel with your hosts, Aaron Carlson, Charles Lawson, and Samantha Hanna. Ah, shit. Here we go again.
Yeah, we got 3 bald guys.
Yeah.
Nice.
Not that you'd ever know, because Aaron won't take off his hat.
I always wear
And
those.
I look like I've been snorting cocaine.
Your nose is all red.
My nose is all red.
Alex, he's very sick today, so he's not with us in our studio. He's at home right now, joining us.
I'm in the Kitsap County studio.
Proud, I say.
He doesn't usually normally look that red on his nose.
Yeah. You can hear us okay, Alex?
I can hear you all very well.
Very
Thank
good.
you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you well.
Sound very good, my friend. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, bud.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It's a pleasure meeting you. Our show is pretty impromptu. We just have a conversation with our guests, and that's what we're about to do. So we're recording already. In fact, this is our show.
Yeah.
Yes, we pretty much hit record right before you join the lobby, and then it's like, oh.
I think it's the best way. I think people welcome that kind of approach these days.
They do.
I think the more real it is on this thing called the internet, the better.
I agree.
I couldn't agree more, my friend.
Yes, absolutely.
That was the whole premise of our show when we started, just to get away from all the bullshit.
Yeah. Be organic and
real.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Then we were in a pandemic and we were bored. So
Well, that too.
Yeah,
and we couldn't
well,
do our movie stuff.
You got to do something, right? You got to do something during that
Yeah.
madness.
absolutely.
Why not? I was doing a bit of podcasting myself. For God's sake.
Oh, you did? I didn't know that.
I was reaching out to my friends, fellow filmmakers all over the world, and we were doing for a while. It was weird. Some of them, were kind of intrigued, but then they would respond back and say, you know what, I don't want to talk about this stuff, They were just, I think they were just depressed. I think people were just genuinely depressed.
Yeah.
And didn't want to engage in a conversation where we were trying to genuinely help each other out, help hold each other's hands, to get through it all, But that's fine. I mean, I get it. I sort of understood,
it's not just us; it happens to everybody.
Yeah. But Alex is a
Yeah,
nice
well,
guy.
I'm good to go. I don't want to do it.
We kind of forced everybody to do it.
We did. We
Yeah,
just were like,
it's
you're doing it.
Yeah, you got to get out there. We got to still stick together. We still got to do something. We still got to keep living. We got to try.
Yeah,
We have to try.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I didn't think of forcing them. I should have done that.
You should have. It works.
I was like, yeah, I get it. All sympathetic and nice. I should have just gone, do it, goddammit.
Get your ass in there and do it. Yeah. And I guarantee, you know what? And they would have listened, because if they listened to my black
I'm
ass,
sure
they would have listened.
Yeah, that's why you guys do what you do, and I should not do what you do.
I don't know about
Not
that.
good at that sort of stuff.
Well, we could say the same thing about filmmaking to you.
Right.
Thank you for saying so.
Yeah, we could.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have the pleasure of having Alex Proyas with us today. And
Is that the correct way to pronounce your last
it is,
name?
I know it is.
Oh, well, I
Yes,
didn't
it's
know.
very
I was going to say that's
Right.
the one name that Aaron does know.
Yeah, I know
I
this
didn't
name.
know.
I've known this name since 1994. I could tell you that
Okay.
right now. It's a pleasure, man. Thanks for joining us again. I'm not going to fanboy out. I'm not that kind of guy, but I
Yeah,
got to
no,
tell you
please don't.
that it's an honor to meet a
It's crazy.
filmmaker of your caliber, first of all. And I know you got a lot of great things you're working on right now for other filmmakers out there and supporting other film artists. And that's kind of what we've been trying to do with our podcast and showing people, if you're sitting there making movies, regardless if it's short films or features, maybe you don't have budgets, maybe you do. Whatever way, shape, or form we're doing stuff, we want to always try to inspire. And I think that's what you're trying to do now with what you got going on. So if there are people in this audience that have no idea who we're speaking with today, Alex, would you please introduce yourself to them?
Yeah, I'm Alex Proyas, and you pronounced that very well. Thank you. I appreciate that. Having lived a life of people mispronouncing my name, it's nice. It's always nice when someone gets it right.
Well, yeah.
And I make movies, and I've made a bunch of movies, and I made The Crow and Dark City and I, Robot and Knowing and other films, and yeah, I'm currently I'm currently involved with many things, as you always are as a filmmaker. You do a lot of stuff. You don't know what you never know what's going to come good, and so you got to work on juggle many balls at the same time, and hopefully something eventually comes good. It's that's what I do. It's what we all do.
That's what we do.
That is what we do.
Yep.
You are just one of the better visual filmmakers that I know, that I've seen on screen. And I know there's a lot of great ones, but everybody has their own filmmaker that they really attach to, even as a fan or a different type of artist. Your visions that I've seen you put on film are kind of like what I see in my head that I've never been able to get on screen because, gosh, we don't have the money to do those things. But gosh, when we see your shit, dude, I'm telling you, it just fascinates me that the way certain minds kind of see things similar, I guess is what I'm saying, as artists. I mean, everybody's got a different way they look at stuff, but sometimes you find somebody and you're like, man, dude, that's exactly how I would do that, or that's what I see. So, when did you get into filmmaking in general? Like, how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing it pretty much all my life. I started making films when I was 10.
Wow.
Holy shit.
Actually, probably before that, in fact. But when I was 10, I managed to convince my parents to buy me a Super 8 camera. In those days, that was the best you could get. We didn't have phones you could film stuff on then. And so, I was an only child. So my parents were, I still had to save up my dollars to get a projector. They got me a camera for a birthday or whatever, and I started making films. And I'm one of those sort of lucky kids who kind of knew very early on what I wanted to do, and that's all I've ever really wanted to do. I don't know how to do anything else other than make films. That's all I've ever done. So
I've tried to do other things. I think I'm no good at it either. I just haven't been able to make money at movies yet. But I'm trying.
Well, and film is a wonderful medium in that respect because it is it's an addictive. It's like a drug, as you know.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, and I think one of the reasons it is like that is, as painful as being a professional filmmaker is, it encompasses all the art forms. So if you're a creative person, it has been up until maybe still is, I hope, the all-encompassing art form where you can dabble in all the arts, and writing and creating visuals and theatrics and music and the whole thing, and it's all wrapped up in one neat parcel. And so that I think that's what always engaged me, because as my interests over the years fluctuated from area to area, film was always the spine of it all,
Yeah.
So as I became more engaged in stories and narrative and characters, and through my career, and film was still the thing, the pot I could put it all into, So
I have a question for you. How much of, so when you go, you're getting a pretty big budget to make a movie, how much of your actual idea in your brain did you get to actually make into or put into the movies that you made
To get on screen?
Oh,
yeah.
It's a small fraction of what you have in your head, it's never.
Is that the influence of other people that are saying, "Oh, you can't do this," or whatever, or is it just how it goes?
Yeah, sometimes it can be if you're working with the wrong people, which sadly can happen quite often in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
You can work with people who micromanage and meddle in what you do. That's just the nature of the beast. As the budget goes up, that interference becomes greater. I've always had the most freedom the lower the budget is, as all filmmakers experience.
Right.
Right.
But it's also a question of the logistics and the reality and the compromises you have to make. I mean, you imagine one thing in your mind and you sit there and you write it if you're a writer as well, and you go, that's it. I've got it. I've got what I had in my brain is now on a piece of paper, but then translating that back into a reality, a cinematic reality, then you encounter all the compromises along the way of, the guys with the money don't want to let you do certain things, or you just don't have the money, So for me, that's the compromise that we all suffer. It doesn't matter what level of filmmaking you're in, you're going to have that level of compromise. And what I've been engaged with for the last few years is trying to lower the production costs of films, but not limit imagination. So to allow imagination to flourish, because as a filmmaker, I'm envious of the other art forms. I'm envious of the writer, the author, who writes novels, who wakes up in the morning and just puts it all down on the computer and it's there. His art form is complete. And there's no compromise there. I mean, I'm sure there are. I'm sure some editor is going to say something at some point, but
that's down the road after they write it.
The compromising is very limited. It's a direct line between your brain, your creative imagination, and your final work. It's a very short line between those 2 points. In filmmaking, it's a fucking journey.
Yeah. It is a fucking journey.
Doesn't matter what sort of film you're making.
Well,
and
there's
that's
so many
why,
things that go into it, from the music.
So I'm trying to make that line shorter, so it's a much more direct process.
I'm glad you brought that up. I've thought that way many times about, man, if I could just love just writing these stories and find a way to use that to tell my stories and feel satisfied, I'd be like, that's badass. I'm good to go. The problem is, Alex, is that I like movies. I like it all, like what you're saying, all those different facets come together. And then I realized, well, shit, I need people. Damn it. So then I had to find a way to gather enough passionate people to make film. Chuck was one of them. Sam was one of them. And now we're branching out and we're starting to find a lot more like-minded people, right? So that's cool. But when you're someone like I am, who grew up not really trusting people in my life, I just like, isn't that great? I have to fucking like people now to make my fucking movies. Isn't that nice? That's where I was. And I had to just learn to let a lot of stuff go.
What did you learn? You learned, we made a movie with all of our friends, and they were absolutely phenomenal.
They did great. Yeah.
And we're the acting, there was no.
Yeah. So
it was great.
So what I got to say to you, Alex, is I've come around. But
I went ahead and rolled you under that bus already.
I come around. No, it's all right. It works out good. It works out really good now. And I'm really enjoying the process, and I'm seeing, just how important everybody is, like on a set. I had a problem like, God, this, I need to do everything here. Have every hat on, and now I'm starting to hand stuff off, and I still feel kind of weird about it. Letting them do other things, but I'm starting to trust them, and I'm starting to see better quality stuff, because I can't do everything great. I can do everything kind of, and I have my things I can do really well, and then there's other things I can't, but other people do those things better, and then you got to get them on your team, right?
Yeah, it's a fine balance. It's one you struggle with, and the reason I work with the same people all the time and again, because the ones that I like. I find people that I like and who understand the way I think, and I just keep working with them. Why am I going to rebuild something if it works?
Yeah.
But it's a filmmaking is somewhere between a democracy and a dictatorship. For a filmmaker, for a director, and you got to balance that, and that can change from day to day, from hour to hour. Because I say, if it's going well, don't mess with it. It's like you're steering a ship, and the ship is kind of on course. Everything's working well, but as soon as you see that iceberg coming, you got to take control, and be very proactive. So that's the way I see a director's role, and that's why the role shifts, because, as I say, if it's going well, don't mess with it. I've had actors over the years come up to me sometimes, and after a few days of working, and saying, why aren't you saying anything to me? Why aren't you directing me? I go, well, you're doing fine. Why should I've got nothing to say to you. I cast you well. We wrote the character well. We discussed the character. It all works. So why am I going to mess with it?
Don't screw up what you're doing.
To me is a really important thing, and it's something that filmmakers who are starting off have a hard time wrestling with, because it's also about how much you know as a filmmaker, as a director, how confident you are in what you know.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have the level of experience, then sometimes it's a bit hard to gauge how it's all working. You know, a lot of directors have the hardest time with that. There's a very famous story with, you know, Orson Welles doing Citizen Kane and asking, and sort of losing the objectivity that you need as a director, and asking Mankiewicz, he was going nuts, and he was going, should I pick up the glass of water and drink and then say the line? Or should I say the line and then pick up the glass of, I'm going crazy, I don't know which. And Mankiewicz just goes, just fucking do it.
Just drink the fucking water.
Don't overthink it, you know. And that's can very easily happen to filmmakers.
Mm-hmm.
You get tired, you get stressed, you know, you got all these idiot executives breathing down your neck, and you start to lose your objectivity, and objectivity is the most important thing, I think, for a director.
Beautifully said.
Yeah. Very good point. Very good point. Because then you kind of lose your way to be original and, well, real.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing that we try to always say, is that keeping it real really helps.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people want genuine. And especially nowadays, when everyone seems to kind of be robotic a lot of times, and you just want someone to genuine. Let me see that tear that you're crying. I want to see it.
Exactly.
But what you were saying just then before is that, or you were all saying about working with the group like a family unit almost, where you trust everyone's opinion, it's really sound. And that's hard to maintain. The bigger the film is, the harder that, you know, you get factions of dissenters, you know. If you're a small group, it's very easy to understand the dynamic between people. And I encourage that way of working. I'm trying to get back to that way of working, because I've been through the thousands of people on the crew where I don't even know some people's names. I don't know who they are.
Yeah.
They turn up on the set and they do stuff, and I don't know them, you know. And I like the dynamic of the smaller group, that where everyone knows everyone, and it's a family, you know. It's a much more creative and engaging process, I think, for everybody, not just for the director.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up too, because that's where I was going to go next with you, to see what you preferred, considering that you have done studio work. So when you got into this stuff back then, how excited were you to get your first big gig in Hollywood? I'm just curious where you were at then, and kind of where you're at now, and why, if there's a change.
It was relatively easy early on. I mean, I say that because I've forgotten some of the bad shit probably, but
brain is a wonderful thing.
What I mean by easy is I came out of commercials and music videos, right? Okay. That's what I was doing when I first got to LA, and I got an agent and all that, the stuff you're supposed to have as a filmmaker. I always wanted to be a filmmaker, not a commercial maker. That's where I wanted to go. So I embraced that very early on. And at the time, this is in the 90s, early 90s, when Hollywood really was reaching out to, they could see, I was with this group called Propaganda Films in LA, who, you know, David Fincher, Michael Bay, Spike Jones, a lot of filmmakers came out of that group, you know. And so agents in Hollywood were reaching out to, they could see we were doing some interesting stuff, and they could see there's this sort of zeitgeist thing going on with music videos and MTV and all that sort of stuff. So they were actively trying to nab us, you know, early on, when they could exploit the hell out of us and make lots of money out of us, you know. So that's what I say by relatively easy. I mean, you know, I was multi-award winning and all that sort of stuff as well, so I probably had some reason to be lucky. But that was easy, and then I got to meet all the Hollywood producers. You know, I'd already made a feature. I made a low budget feature called Spirits in Australia a few years earlier. So I was being considered a first time director, which is always an insulting
Right.
things like that. I'd made a film.
I've been making movies since I was 10, motherfucker.
And yet now I'm a first-time director.
Yeah.
Like, bullshit.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, might as well be saying the guy's a virgin as well.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that wasn't the case either. So they basically, I got to meet all the producers, and they were the like cigar chomping kind of stereotypes.
Right. Oh my God.
You were just meeting me because I was just another young guy who maybe they could throw at something. And I started getting offers of scripts. I was being offered Nightmare on Elm Street was one that I remember, number 4 or 5 or something. I can't remember which one it was.
Okay.
You would have done it better, by the way.
I
wanted to make interesting stuff. Sorry, what was that?
I would have said you would have done one of those better than the one that they made. Trust me.
Yeah, but I didn't want to do that.
I don't blame you.
It wasn't anything.
Even then, I was like not into the franchises and the sequels. Originality for me is what it's like. I love coming up with stuff and then being on a set months later or years later and hearing actors do the lines that you've written and create the characters that you've imagined. I mean, that's the magic of it for me, is imagining something and then it comes to life in front of your eyes. I've always been that way,
Yeah, I think
so. It took a while for me to navigate that system because I really started to feel like Hollywood's probably not for me. I would probably go back to Australia and make another film back there. But then The Crow came along, and it was something that to me was intriguing enough to want to engage with. But I've always approached it as an outsider. My agents, even from the beginning, were like, "You've got to come and live in LA," and it's like I don't really want to live in LA. I ended up living in LA by default because I did so much stuff there, but I never really based myself in Hollywood,
Right.
So I've always been the outsider really from day one.
And I love that. And that's one thing that I got from you right away when I started to really pay attention to, things you've said in interviews, things you've written down, even on your personal page, like on Facebook. Just I have this theory. Now, I'm nowhere near even have a career in filmmaking. We are working on it and trying. But, what our goal is to take this shit head on. There's a lot of stuff that we heard and seen now over the last years that we've been doing this. And a lot of it's gross. We don't like it. And I don't think the system, the way it is set up right now, really encourages filmmaking per se. It's more about the dollar. And that's pretty clear. We all kind of get that. But the thing I like about you, Alex, is that you've gone through that system. You've done those things, and you take it head on. You're not afraid to say things that you feel and mean, and I love that about you, dude. I absolutely love it. I read one of your posts that you did recently about which one was it? You did
the
a
one
few.
You showed me.
Yeah,
the slap at the Oscars.
I think that was the Oscars one. Yeah, and that resonated with me big time, man, because I know what you were saying in there. There's a lot more to that than just Will and Chris. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just that shit. And, you know what I mean?
The baggage.
Yeah, the baggage, man.
And I mean, it's double. It was doubly hard for me. I took a moment before I said anything about that, just because I know Will as a friend, and I mean, for me, that was the whole thing. It's like, Will is not that guy. Will, like, I don't know who that guy was who did that, but it wasn't Will Smith that I know,
Yeah.
And that really, I really had to examine that and go, well, why is that the case, And so I kind of blame the whole system, really.
Yeah.
Will's kind of momentary insanity, which is all I can put it down to. Because he, more than anyone I've ever worked with, any of the big movie stars that I've met or worked with, Will is when we were doing iRobot, we'd be standing on the street, or we'd be shooting on a street rather, and I turned around and Will was standing there was like a wall of people, old people, young people, kids, their mother, the widest range of people, and they're all looking at Will, and Will's like gagging with them and joking with him and stuff.
Right.
And they were looking at him like it's like if, God had appeared on the street, they would not have been more engaged with this guy,
He probably wouldn't have.
He probably wouldn't have gone and been like, hey, I'm over here, guys.
Will
Smith
was the most, he had the greatest sense of that exact thing and how much people liked him because he treated everyone in the same way.
Yeah.
But that's a
so
huge
that's why I go, I don't know.
burden.
You know, I knew the guy, like we worked together for a year. I got to know him very, very well, you know, and I just didn't see any of this stuff in his character, you know.
Yeah.
So that's why I feel like, I mean, I hope it comes good because I really feel like he's, you know, he's a sort of victim of circumstance, I think.
Your message came across very clear with that in what you wrote, and I loved every part of it because you did say that that's a good man right there, and so his actions were not what you knew of him.
Yeah.
And you're not the only one who said that.
Yeah.
So it just really gives you an idea of what Hollywood kind of can do to a person, because that's a lot of pressure. You're expected to a certain standard, and the whole world's looking at you. So when you when you don't perform on that standard, you have to face that. And I think that's huge pressure that I don't know if many people could handle with, you know, ease, like he has all this time.
Yeah, he's been very consistent throughout his career, and that's the sad part about it. Because but I mean, it's a good thing too, and I think that's what you were pointing out, Alex, to show that, you know, no one's immune to this stuff. Right. You know, we all are human beings. You know, no matter which way you slice it or dice it, sooner or later you can crack. I mean, we have each one of us has had that moment.
Yeah.
You know, one way or another, and.
But Will's, he's different in the way that he put a lot of his garbage out there for the whole entire world to dissect when he did the Red Table and all the stuff. And with his kids and what they've done and haven't done. And he's had a lot of garbage out there. And when you put a lot of garbage out there, bless his heart for doing it because you're being honest.
He's being
but at
real
the
and
same
genuine.
time, you're giving people ammo to use against you. So it's also very, you know, it's that too. So. But
that Hollywood pressure, man, and going to those Oscars and getting up there, and I like what Alex said too in that what you wrote about. I think it was something about just these elites all walking around and competing with each other, and I always thought it was really fucking stupid
I fucking
too.
hate the Oscars.
It's fucking dumb. I mean, it's never one of my best pictures that ever wins, ever. I'm like, dude.
Yeah, no, I mean,
never.
like Kubrick never won an Oscar, and it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know? So it's like, I mean, I felt like that from day one.
Good for you.
But it seems like everyone is becoming more and more aware of that, which is, you know, we dress them up and we throw them out there, and we're supposed to roast them now. You know, that's the whole thing, to make us feel like, oh, they're multi-billionaires. The stars are multi-millionaire, billionaires, whatever they are, and yet, you know, if we cut them down a few pegs, it's going to be okay. We should still keep watching it, but it's still the same bullshit. It's still like giving a gold trophy to someone who, it's like, so what? So what? Do a few people think they've made the best film, and it's like, they haven't made the best film.
If I had that much money, I'd make the best film too.
I know, but exactly. You know,
and
who are they to judge? And why should we sort of sit around watching it all and going,
it's dumb.
These people are great, you know.
And that's what's been happening to their audience. They're dying.
It's a dinosaur. It's a complete thing of the past, and it's amazing that it's lasted as long as it has. I mean, it really is remarkable that it's sustained.
Well, yeah, I mean, a few years ago, they started doing it on the Actors Guild Awards, where all the actors and all the comedians were cutting each other down, and that made sense for that because it's just a room full of friends hanging out. But then when you take something to the Oscars and you still take that mentality to that of something that's supposed to be prestige, and all of a sudden it's no longer prestige, it loses its interest.
Well, when the only thing I'm interested in seeing from the Golden Globes is Ricky Gervais's speech.
Because he's funny as fuck.
What is the point? Just get him to do that. You know? That's the best part. At the ceremony. It's like, don't bother with anything else. Just have Ricky Gervais get up and say horrible things about
because he doesn't give a
actors,
shit.
You know, great.
And everybody have dinner. There you go.
I love it. I love it, man. Well, that's a good segue, though, because, we all kind of know, like, we've all talked about that. What if something we make gets us into a level that we have to deal with, you know, studios, executives, and that whole vibe in LA? That's not our style at all.
We've had to talk about it.
We would rather be middle-class filmmakers for the rest of our lives. That's all we want to do.
Indie till we die.
Yes.
And I'm with you. I'm definitely, I mean, I'm definitely on that trajectory, and I'm trying to make it so that, you know, I love science fiction. I love imagery that has traditionally been expensive to make.
Well, you did make Dark City, motherfucker. That's a badass movie.
And that was made for a very small budget for what it was.
Man.
At the time, you know?
Wow.
True to this day, I remember we spent on VFX, the entire VFX budget on Dark City was $1 million.
Holy shit!
That's like like an Austin Powers quote, you know. And that was like everything. We did like 800, 900 shots. I don't remember how many.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
But the thing is, I feel like this technology is making things much more affordable, and so you can still do the imagery. You don't have to limit your imagination, and you can do it in much more clever ways, you know, which has been always the case, but it's been, again, as I say, it's been getting easier and easier over the last few years, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm of the firm opinion that's the way to go. I think indie films right now are pretty much being slaughtered. I don't think there is a sustainable career for people in indie filmmaking, you know. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't see it. I know the sort of budgets that are talked about and sort of projects that are discussed, and it's really hard for anyone to break through that and sustain that style of filmmaking. You know, filmmakers to me these days the best hope they have in Hollywood is to make an indie film, struggle along making indie films until they make one that someone notices, and then Marvel gives them a gig, you know?
Yeah.
That's to me the only sort of trajectory of self-sufficiency, which is fucking insane, you know?
It is.
It's the death of movies right there. So we have to come up with new models for not just how we make films, but how we get films to our audience, which has always been the biggest hurdle.
That is a hurdle.
Trying to get enough people to notice that our films are out there. And so you can make a sustainable career, you know?
Yes.
You know, I think that to me is the most important thing. Most filmmakers are like us. They don't, you know, I don't want to be a multi-billionaire. I don't care. All I want is someone to give me enough of a budget to make my next movie, and so that I can feed my family. That's all I really care about.
Right there, right with you.
And so I can keep doing my art and not, you know, starving in the process. And I think that's a fair request, you know.
It really is.
Absolutely, it is, and that is a good segue into what you're working on right now with Vidiverse. You know, it was funny because I was sitting here thinking about it the other day, and then you mentioned it just now because the Hollywood thing gets in my head sometimes. I think about it, and these guys are always worried about me if I have to go to Hollywood.
God.
Yeah, I think it was you brought it up, Sam. They were like you because I've got like an ego.
Yes, an ego
I have an ego a little bit, but I have an ego because I think I need to have one because you get so much shit when you're a dreamer, you know, and people always try to throw down your dreams and tell you, oh, you're a fucking idiot, you can't do it. Or they laugh at you or they don't take you seriously. Like I was like, oh, I'm making movies. They're like, oh, you're making movies. You know, they give you that kind of garbage until you make one. And then they're like, holy shit. Like when we had our first premiere back in 2017 and all those people showed up and they're like, holy shit, I didn't know it was going to be like that. This is like a real movie. I'm like, what do you think we were doing, motherfucker? You know, that was the thing. So yeah, I had to have this ego. So they were afraid of me of going down there and then getting all hot and bothered by it. But the thing that was the thing that makes
That's not exactly it, but okay.
Okay, but yeah, it's a little bit different than that.
The thing that I liked was like when Alex was talking about doing The Crow, and he goes and he does The Crow, and you still see your style in that movie, okay? And then that's a hit. So I'm sure all those people that were smoking those cigars back then probably said something like, "Oh, this kid's got it," right? So you come in with Dark City was after that, isn't that right? Okay, yeah. That's a pretty creative story you wrote. I can't see Hollywood normally letting somebody make something like that because it's way different than normal. But were they more open to it because The Crow made money?
Oh, yeah.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
If I hadn't made The Crow, or if The Crow hadn't been as successful as it was, there's no way they would let me make Dark City. Right. I wrote Dark City before The Crow. Okay. Dark City was the movie that I wanted to make.
Yeah.
You know, and I would show people the script and they would go, "Thank you very much," you know?
Yeah.
After The Crow was a success, all the studios called me up. Mm-hmm. And they realized this. It's like, other than the fact that it made money, I mean, it didn't make that much money, but it's like they went, oh, here's the next thing, right?
Right.
I was for a moment the next thing, and so they all wanted a piece of that, right? Mm-hmm. And they were like, okay, so, we'll make anything. What do you want to make? What, if you got a script, do you want to do anything? Do you want us to give you a script? And I have to say, it's the only time I've ever experienced that. I've never experienced that ever again. And I'd show them Dark City, and they'd say, well, what else do you want to make? But they were open. At least they were open.
They were open.
Yeah.
It still took me.
You got another one?
It's still, anything more like The Crow, maybe.
You want to do The Crow too?
Yeah, it took me some time to get through that process, and I had to develop Dark City through, I think initially, I actually went through Fox, Disney, and then finally ended up at New Line, right?
Wow.
So I developed it with 2 other studios before I ended up with a studio that actually would make it, and New Line really wanted to make it. They were very supportive, and they really wanted to make the film. Mike DeLuca at New Line was really the champion of that film, and then, as I say, even under the best circumstances, which was, I just had a hit film. It was considered something new and fresh, and that everyone wanted a piece of that. The budget wasn't excessive for Dark City, and it was at a time when original science fiction IP was not the death knell at the box office as it is now, right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't care who you are. I don't think James Cameron could get Dark City made today.
Right,
I don't think anyone could, let alone a guy like me who just made a, low budget indie film effectively.
Yeah.
Pro. So that's how much the industry has changed in that time. So I go, how do I fight that? And to wrestle it back to where we were going, which is Vidiverse, which is the thing I really want to spend most of my time talking about at the moment. Vidiverse is a streaming platform because I love the big screen, of course, we all do. That's why I wanted to make movies, because I saw 2001 Space Odyssey when I was a kid, and I'm like, I want to do that, not so much, but for me, it's a fact of life. Streaming is the way forward. But the most important thing about it is that I think it can enable indie filmmakers, and I'm doing it already with Vidiverse. And that is, we have a great library of independently produced short films and some features. We're getting more and more features online. And the standard of the work is really amazing. I mean, I started to become aware of all these great short films. I've judged a few short film festivals over the last couple of years, and I was blown away by how good the films were, not just from a writing, directing, and acting point of view and an ideas point of view, but the sheer technical quality, the production value was off the charts great compared to what I assumed short films were,
right.
They really are. And I think the technology has partly enabled that, but I think people they're just cleverer. They know more. The internet has helped a lot of people cut to the chase, So I wanted to kind of channel that energy that's happening in short films and present what I think it's a curated platform of films that I think are great. I'm not saying they are the best films, Someone actually criticized that particular post that I put on about the Oscars, saying, well, who are you to say that they shouldn't judge the best film? You're judging the best films on Vidiverse, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm just saying I like these films. I'm not saying that these are better than any other film.
Different thing, dude.
Yeah. So anyway, we've had an incredible response, and there's a huge groundswell of support from the filmmakers, and it's terrific. I mean, I'm really excited about it. I think, I really think we've got a chance of making something unique with this, and I want the platform to be able to eventually, when we're talking about this stuff right now, but it's going to be a little while before we get there. I want the platform to be not just a platform to show films, but a platform to make films and finance films and be able to facilitate these sustainable filmmakers' individual brands, which is what I think all filmmakers really want at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So that's my long-term, well, hopefully not so long-term, but my near future goal with this platform.
Well, how long's it been up right now? How long you got at launch?
Oh, 2 months. I mean, literally, we started almost 3 months. We started streaming in late February, early March, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, very short amount of time, and I'm now actually a little bit scared because I'm watching all the film submissions personally.
Oh shit!
Because I'm the curator of the and
that's not gonna last.
I was getting and I knew that at the time, but foolishly that's what I've done.
Yeah.
And we started off with we'd get I'd watch 10 short films a weekend. This is before we launched, and that started to spike. And literally in the last week, we're getting 20 a day, right? And it's going to become kind of daunting. We're still treading water, but it's getting harder and harder to be able to do that. But I want to maintain the quality. I think that's the important thing. Is so for our audience, they come to this. We're not talking about YouTube. I mean, we're talking about or Netflix or anything. Actually, we're talking about something quite unique because it is the kind of the taste of one schmuck like me, but I have certain standards that I want in the quality of the film. So I think all of these films I completely stand behind. I think they're all great, and some of them they're so great that I'm actually pissed off.
I was going to ask you that. Yeah,
I'm going. How did these guys do this? It's like,
it's like, fuck.
I know how much they've spent on the budget, and it's like, oh my God, it's just mind-boggling how great the filmmakers are.
And doesn't that make it better? Isn't that make the film better when you find out that stuff? You're just like, wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. It's like literally, I don't know how it's even possible. And I know there's always pain associated with making any film.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure they've had huge levels of pain making these, but it doesn't show. The films are great.
I think there's a gift with indie filmmaking and it's kind of like someone with a disability. You meet someone with a disability and they can do other things great, and I kind of think of it that way because indie filmmakers are like
we're disabled.
Regular filmmakers with a disability. We don't got no money, so we gotta really
probably mentally disabled.
I mean, you have a disability, you have to work harder. You don't got money, you gotta work harder.
You gotta figure it out.
But I mean, the heart is what I'm saying. The heart in somebody who's lacking somewhere that you'll receive is more than the heart of somebody who's just got everything.
Correct. Yeah. The passion.
The heart and the passion and all of it. I mean, that's where you really get stuff where you see how hard somebody worked on something.
Yeah. And then the final product is just glorious when you see the ones, and especially if it's your taste, and that's what's cool that you're doing. I mean, imagine us being able to sit down and watch other people's films, and we get to pick and choose which ones that we want to put on the platform because we like them. We're like, that's some cool shit. I want to put that on our fucking platform. That person made some shit. It's good. That's what he's doing, and that's fantastic because we get to watch these artists that actually Alex Proyas appreciated. Like he's like, this is some good filmmaking, guys. Check this out. This is a great storyteller. Check this out. This scared the shit out of me. Check this out. That's fun, Al.
Yeah,
that's super fun, Alex.
That is fun.
That's great. Is it a subscription-based platform for people to watch?
Yeah, look, it's both subscription and then what we do is we put the films into packs that of 4 or 5 around to make each pack of films around feature length or an hour long or something like that.
Oh, okay.
And we sell those individually, but the reality is no one's buying them. People are basically subscribing.
Yeah.
We recently introduced a monthly subscription. We went from yearly, and now we've introduced a monthly subscription. And we're talking I think in the States it's like $3.50 a month.
Oh,
right?
okay, that's great. That's nothing.
So very low price. But even then, a lot of people are just going for the annual subscription. It seems like people are really getting behind supporting it as a concept because it is, the way we're working is we're sharing the revenue with the filmmakers, so we've got a very crude analytic, but something that tells us how many views for each film and whether people are watching the whole thing or whatever, and giving us some sense of that. And we're basing revenue on a split between the filmmakers and Vidiverse to keep us
you afloat, keep you doing what you're doing for them.
So So it's a very noble venture, I believe, and it's like, it came from me going, I knew so many filmmakers, myself included, who'd make a short film. It would do the festival circuit, would be very favorably received, and then you'd stick it on YouTube, and YouTube makes some money out of you. You know, you get nothing because honestly, unless you're a hugely successful podcaster or influencer or something like that, short films make, if you get 1 million views on a short film, I mean, that's the rare. That's, usually it's like a few thousand, 10,000, 20,000, whatever.
Yeah.
So YouTube are making all the money out of short films, So you go, well, there is money to be made, it's just how you make that happen, So the way I've pitched it to our community, our filmmakers, is I've gone, I don't know how much I'm going to get you guys every 6 months, but I guarantee every single film will make more than $0. I guarantee that, right?
Right.
Okay. Some films might make the cost of a coffee. Some films might make, a few $100, I don't know.
Right.
But it's going to be something, and that's going to build as the platform grows. That's going to grow as well.
Absolutely, and I mean,
so that's the promise that we're making.
And what's good about it too is that you're opening up for short films. I mean, that's a huge deal, I think, because most of these streaming platforms now don't really do that.
But
they don't
Aaron,
do that.
You couldn't make a short film if you tried. Oh,
I just did. I just did. How about that? I just
forgot about that.
Yeah.
Well, we're doing long films too now, so that's something too. We've just put our first feature on just in the last week.
Okay, cool.
So, and we have more coming in. So
that's fantastic.
So you don't discriminate against Aaron, is what you're saying?
Because I'm a feature guy. But I'm digging the shorts now, and I'm liking that, because the thing that got me about short films was that, well, when you have a idea in your head about trying to make a career out of something or make a living out of something, and you see that short films aren't going to make you any money, why would I make them?
Why not make you friends?
Well, why not make like 3 or 4 short films in one story and then put it all together and just have a feature, and then you can actually distribute this thing and try to make something.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I've always been.
I've actually said exactly what you just said. That's what a few years ago, that's what I was encouraging people to do.
Mm-hmm.
I go, why waste your time in shorts? Let's just, what you just said, just think of 4 shorts together and make a feature. Stretch yourself a little bit further.
Yeah.
But I like shorts as an art form. I mean, I really do like the medium.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And a lot of other people like watching shorts. The number of short film festivals would testify to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And so I feel like let's try and make shorts a viable art form, a commercial art form.
Absolutely.
And
the world is busy.
What's that?
Not everybody has time for a full movie. We're so busy now, all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah, you did make a good
point. They're fun. You can watch a few of them in the time that you watch a feature, and you can.
Yeah.
You can have a great time.
But you can still watch movies if you only have a limited amount of time.
Yeah, that's true too.
Some people are very busy. They only have a little while.
Well, I think it's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, it's brilliant that you're doing that, especially for primarily short for filmmakers. I mean, they don't have any other option to consider that they might be monetized somehow or some way. So that's a beautiful thing, I think. I think it's fantastic.
It'll catch on.
Yeah, it will. It absolutely will. Yeah, and you said you're getting better, more subscriptions coming in with the monthly. Is that correct? Or are they still doing the yearly?
No, I was surprised we've gotten
very
few monthlies. People just go straight for the yearly.
Okay.
And,
so which means that they love the idea.
I don't care as long as they subscribe.
Yeah, I don't give a shit. Just subscribe, watch them. Well, you're supporting filmmakers, though, man. I mean, that's
huge. We all need support. We all need to support each other.
We do, and that's the thing. I want people need to realize that, Chuck. I mean, here we are. We're nobodies in the filmmaking community, right? Well, I mean, few people know us, but nothing big.
I keep reminding you every once in a while.
Okay, thanks.
Nobody really knows who we are yet.
Thank you, I appreciate that. But here we are talking to Alex Proyas, and we have the same commonalities in our heads about what we're trying to do. I mean, that's what's so fucking cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's
with
the
everything
interesting thing is you get to a point and you realize it never gets any easier, right?
Right.
If anything, it's gotten harder because, for me, for example, being this, science fiction guy, my genre is virtually dead in Hollywood in big budget movies. No one wants to finance in sort of original IP in that genre. It's like
really?
so many of them. Yeah, so many of them have been made and have failed in the last few years. I mean, literally everyone that you can think of in the last few years has not worked at the box office because audiences seemingly don't want them.
Yeah, it's a damn shame.
Well, they put more push behind the marketing of. Well, Marvel and all those movies, they sell themselves because everyone knows the characters.
Comic books and all that.
Yeah.
It's like everyone knows that stuff, so you don't really need to sell it. But it's a sure thing for the studios. You come up with a new IP, and it's often not so successful.
So that's the problem, though. They're spending so much time on all the content that everybody knows is working. They're not giving any room for anything else. I mean, I appreciate Marvel. I appreciate their stories. I appreciate the characters. But I mean, there's been 18 movies and TV shows and
there's
how many different things to spin off of. There's not enough room for somebody else to come up with another thought.
I don't care about them. And eventually, they're gonna run out of characters.
They got a lot, though, Sam. There's a lot.
I know.
But the problem, like he's saying, though, is you're not getting the original content.
Yeah.
And that's too fucking bad because there's so many great stories that these people are trying to tell out there that no one will ever fucking hear on the level that they should be told.
Yeah.
That's what drives me crazy. Unless we can find a way. Now, I read somewhere, Alex, you were doing something down there. You're in Australia, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you making like a studio or something? Like you're trying to help out people to get those visions out there?
Yes. Yeah. I'm sitting in my studio at the moment.
Oh shit. Okay.
We well, I won't turn the camera around, but it's a group called Heretic Foundation, and what we do is we specialize in virtual production. We're a VFX company, effectively.
Okay, yeah.
But it's the umbrella of production, right? And so you're aware of virtual production, right? You understand how that...
Like Mandalorian, kind of what they did? And...
Mandalorian style, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I was doing it with one of the first virtual production movies to be done was actually iRobot. In fact, we built a system for that which could make a slave a camera to a CG model.
Okay.
You move the camera around, the CG model moves around accordingly. So I could watch a monitor and see a very crude, wireframe of the environment the Will is running around when he's in that scene.
All the robots everywhere.
Yeah, got it. So I could move the camera and I can see Will over the heads of the robots, or I've got to go a little bit higher or whatever.
Okay.
And that was the only way we could get that scene done, because Will was just running around a big green boy.
Right.
So that's how long I've been doing it. But recently, Mandalorian being a very high-profile example, game engines like Unreal have created a more expedient way of doing that. Basically, you can do it all and see much higher quality environments that are not there, through LED screens or green screen, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
So the one production thing about that is that if you can do it all, if you can shoot your film entirely rather than traveling from location to location with your unit and your trucks and all that stuff that you'd have to move around and your lighting crew, if you can bring the environments to you in one location, you can work with smaller crews and you can work much faster. So you can be on, in a desert environment or anywhere you want to be. Before lunch and after lunch, you can be skiing in the Swiss Alps or whatever.
Right. Badass.
So I always want to see that film, what that film would be, where you in the Mojave Desert and the Swiss Alps. But that's the example we always use, which I find very surreal. But I guess it services something like Mandalorian, because Mandalorian, they're on a new planet every episode or whatever.
Yeah, makes sense.
And you can create very photoreal environments in that. So we've tried to create a studio that services that way of production. And we've done a bunch of stuff. We're finishing off a feature at the moment, not mine, I'm doing another short at the moment that they're working on out there, and they're all virtual. There's no real
environment
sets.
Stuff, right? Yeah.
Only the actors are real. And in fact, we're working on one project at the moment for a friend that is entirely metahumans, like CG actors. So we're learning about that stuff as well, which is very, very interesting.
Oh, yeah, to say the least. That's cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's
technology moves on, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You can even catch up with it.
And are you keeping your studio open for others to be able to utilize it? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, it's all other people at the moment.
That's cool.
Like I say, I've only got one short film going through at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
All the other work we're doing is for other directors and producers,
That's fantastic.
That's awesome.
Wish we had something up here like that. Fuck.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Damn it.
Well, come down here.
I know. Go down under.
Yeah.
I have a cousin down there. We should go down there.
I would love to go down there. Wait, no, they got kangaroos though. They scare me, Alex. They scare me. Dude, she's a marsupial.
They're not scary creatures, trust me.
I'm a marsupial
freak.
Yeah,
much scarier creatures than kangaroos.
They're probably in Hollywood, right?
Yeah. You think of those boxing kangaroos?
Yeah, they beat your ass. They will kick you. They don't fucking care.
Yeah. Now, they can actually shred you. They can get on their the big ones.
Yeah.
They get on their hind tail and claw you and rip your guts out. Right?
You were not inspiring me to come down there.
But that's never happened. Okay, just bear that in mind. That's in the history of the world. That is possible, but it's never actually.
It would
happened.
happen to me. I bet
you'd have to be so drunk if you want to get that close to one of these things.
Did you see that one kangaroo that was all buff online?
I saw one video you showed me. Yeah, with a buff one, and some dude just whacked it. Yeah, it's oh my gosh, man.
Well,
thank you for the invitation. I'd love to come down.
I know, right?
Sharks are much worse. The sharks you got to be worried about. I don't like going swimming because of the sharks.
There's sharks down there too.
And there was a horrible bit of footage recently of a guy who got eaten. Right?
Uh-oh.
He got I'm not just exaggerating.
No,
he got mostly eaten.
Oh my!
And someone got it on their video camera.
That's just a horrible video.
But it was. I didn't watch it because I don't enjoy real. I like
fake violence. Yeah, me too.
I like simulated violence is wonderful.
Yeah, like pretend blood, but real blood I'm incredibly squeamish about.
I don't blame it. Yeah, I'm the same way.
But the sharks you got to be careful of. So
I didn't even think about that.
Aaron, what do you care? You don't even go in the water.
Go where they live.
Don't go in the water.
That is right. Chuck, what did you say, Chuck?
I said, what do you even care? You don't even go in the water.
No, I don't go in the water. No, but when I go down there, when I get down there will be a Sharknado. And they'll be flying around all through Australia, and I'll be running around, hiding behind Alex, being like, what's going on, dude?
Get it on film.
He needs to get used to liking animals because I'm an animal freak.
Yeah, I am now.
And a marsupial, too, this one.
Yeah, she used to have a possum in our house, Alex. She was a possum person.
In our house, yeah.
Yeah, we were feeding a possum in our house.
That's what I do.
He'd walk around. It was weird.
That was a girl. That was a girl.
We've got possums here as well.
Yeah, I know.
Your possums are so different than ours, though. Yours are way cuter. Ours are ugly.
Dude, we'd move down. If we moved to Australia, Sam, you'd have a kangaroo in the backyard and shit.
A wallaby, whatever.
I'm done.
Our possums make a sound like when they're mating, like they're Satan.
That's frightening.
Horrific sound.
Ours just look like Satan.
I don't know whether it's pain or pleasure. I'm not quite sure.
One of the
two. Maybe it's a combination of the two.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh man. Well, before we end the show, I got
note.
Yeah.
On that note, yeah.
Alex, I'm going to tell you, man. I appreciate your filmmaking. I remember. I'm going to fanboy out a minute. I remember back in the day, before we quit the show. I just got to say this. This is why it's really weird, and this is why his films have always resonated with me. I guess it was it wasn't my son-in-law. What is it what was Rochelle's brother? Brad.
Oh, your
brother-in-law?
Brother-in-law. Your brother-in-law.
My brother-in-law at the time. We were talking comic books, right? And this was back in the 90s, and he gives me this graphic novel, and I read it, and it's The Crow. And I'm like in awe of this beauty and heartbreak and just torturous violence, and it was just gorgeous, but it was so sad and just emotional, right? So I read this thing, right? So I'm like, oh my God, that was the greatest thing I've ever read. And then no later than 2 weeks, I swear to God, I'm at the duplex, Chuck, living out there in Parkland. And I'm folding clothes on the bed. And the TV is on to my left. And I hear Stone Temple Pilots start playing on the TV. You know, it's like, time to take her home. And I look over and I see Brandon Lee. And I just got done watching Rapid Fire. And I'm like, holy shit, what's going on? What is this movie? And then all of a sudden I see it's The fucking Crow. And I started almost crying because I was like, they made this movie for me. I just read the comic and the movie came out like right after I read it. I'm like, how is that?
We heard about you.
I know. Yeah. See, I knew it.
We immediately
don't do that.
I knew it. I told you, Chuck.
Please don't do that.
Sam, I told you. I told you they did that.
I said, live with this guy. Come on.
It was great. It was.
Put both hands back on top of the table there, Carl.
I was 21 years old. That came out in 93 or 94, somewhere around there. 94?
94.
Okay, yeah. You know, and that changed my life, watching visuals with music. Like I had other options in my earlier past, like Miami Vice and shit, but that movie had everything I ever loved. And when you were talking about it on the show again today, the collaboration of everybody to make the movie, you guys nailed it with that one, and you've nailed it with a ton of your movies, and God bless you. And keep doing it, man. Just keep fucking doing your movies. I cannot wait to see what you're doing.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely, brother. It's great stuff. Great stuff.
Oh, it's been great talking to you guys. You're great fun to talk to. So,
Thank you.
So I wish you well, and we'll have to do it again sometime.
I would love the opportunity, brother.
Yep. And as you continue to grow Vidiverse, and possibly we can work a little promotional thing in and get some of our listeners to go subscribe to you. And we can. Sorry, I'm still working here.
Yeah, no, that's a great.
No, he always does that.
That's what we're gonna do.
Like, creatives.
Yeah,
pretty stuff. Producer,
absolutely.
Nerd.
And please let as many people as you know about it, and
we will let everybody know about it.
We sure will.
We're trying to, we have, I mean, as I say, the groundswell of filmmakers been overwhelming interest. But look, we need more subscribers. We need to get more people, more audience.
Yeah, for sure.
If you need some schmucks to review some films, Aaron and I are your punch.
Yeah. Oh, they are. Totally,
we watch.
We like your work.
That's great to know. Yeah, absolutely. Look,
it's all they do anyway.
Yeah.
Video sharing's easy.
It sure is. Dude, Alex, please plug Vidiverse one more time where people can go to find that, and anything else you're working on, my friend. Please do it right now so we can get going and get everybody over there to subscribe to your platform.
Vidiverse.com. That's really the thing of the moment, and I won't make it complicated with all the other stuff that may or may not happen anyway.
Beautiful.
But Vidiverse.com is definitely the thing we're pushing as hard as we possibly can right now, and hope people can jump on that train.
Absolutely.
They will. We support you.
Yep, and I'll be signing up tonight, so I'm gonna go do that, so I can go check out some stuff. And if there's something on there I don't like, I'm gonna be like, Alex, what's going on here?
No, stop.
Yeah. Or if there's something you do like as well, let me know, and maybe we can, I don't know, you guys can talk about that one or something.
You know what? Funny. I like all movies.
We are trying to also promote each individual filmmaker too. So if there's anything you go, my God, this is the next Kubrick or whatever, this one film, and it doesn't have to be me.
Right.
It can be any. Because I have some films on there as well.
I know.
But if you see any of the filmmakers and you really like their work and you want to be put into contact with them to have a podcast with them, we can arrange that.
I promise you. I promise you we'll do that. Yeah, that sounds great. That's
what if
awesome.
we have a movie that could be? We
got to do something original. We got to do something cool. Yeah. It's Alex.
We got to do something
badass.
We
only have a fan film. We got to do something original, and then we can show
our fan film is helping in other ways. Don't say fuck the fan film.
Well, I mean, you know what I mean. I mean, the fan film is fun to get people to watch.
We have some original content that we need to put out.
Yeah, we're gonna get some original.
You like when somebody kills somebody, Alex? Is that sorry.
As long as it's fake, you liked it. It was good.
Yeah, no real blood.
That's right. All right, Alex, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun.
Cheers.
All right,
thank you very much.
Thank you so much, brother.
Chuck, close us out, man.
Alex, thank you so much. Honestly, 30 years ago, if somebody would have told Aaron and I that we were going to be sitting down and having a conversation with you, I would have been like, yeah, right.
I know.
Being so humble. Thank you for taking the time and talking to us today. Thank you for doing everything that you're doing to support all of the people in independent film, low budget film. I love what you're doing. I look forward to joining you, hopefully, and with what you're doing with Vidiverse and getting some of our content on there. Maybe pushing some of our listeners to your to your stuff, and we'll just keep getting this thing growing together, because obviously everybody joining together is the most important thing. And remember, everybody out there, think hard, because you're thinking anyway.
See everybody later.
Thank you.
Right.
Alex, brother, thank you so much.
For those of you that want to be a guest on Around the Reel, please email Sam at aroundthereel253@gmail.com.
That's aroundthereel253@gmail.com.
Not Messenger. Do not message Aaron on Messenger, because then he has to send you a message that says email Sam at aroundthereel253@gmail.com.
That's aroundthereel253@gmail.com.
How come they can't just message me again?
Because nobody wants to fucking talk to you.
Can anybody reach out? That's an artist, filmmaker, actor?
If you're an artist of any kind, we want to hear from you.
But we are going to vet the crap out of you.
We don't care if you make millions of dollars in Hollywood or if you're just beginning your career in the art industry. We don't care. So everybody that wants to be on Around the Reel, yes, we want you.
That's aroundthereel253@gmail.com.